Hello and welcome to another edition of Meet the Manager. Here we chat to an FPL manager who has an interesting story to tell, or they're offering a new and different insight into the game. Today I'm joined by Chama, aka Koto Classic on Twitter. Chama is currently in the top 300 in the overall rankings, ahead of Gameweek 33 in the 21-22 season, and thanks to a change he's made this season in his captaincy decisions. So here he is to chat about those changes and how we can all improve our armband decisions and overall rankings. Chama, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Joe. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be on your show today. So yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm intrigued to speak to you because I'm not doing so well in the rankings this season, and partly because my captaincy decisions haven't gone as well as I would have hoped. So it will be good to chat to you. So hopefully the rest of this season and next season I can get a bit better at doing that. So first of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand you obviously you do a podcast yourself and you're in Japan at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in Japan, in no man's land. Actually, I'm far away. I'm from the Gambia. My name is Chama, or Abdullah is my name, and Chama is my last name. But Chama is kind of a nickname.
Okay.
So everyone call me Chama. So I kind of got used to it. So like I say, I'm from the Gambia now, currently living in Japan. I came to Japan like 5 years ago and did my master's here in Japan. Then I ended up staying here a little bit longer, now working with some engineering company in Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. And I'm a avid Liverpool supporter.
Okay.
And big one.
Yeah.
So the game yesterday was something else.
Yeah.
And I started playing FPL like 8 years ago in 2014, 2015 through a friend, like through my Liverpool links actually, because he was playing very competitively, and I didn't have any idea about the game, and he needed some advice about Liverpool player. That was the season that you had Sturridge and Suarez, so they were doing very well that season, scoring a lot of goals. So my friend wanted advice on who was the better pick, because I have been following Liverpool like for more than 20 years now. So he kind of thought I was good for that advice. That's how I got into the game, and I've loved it. I've loved it ever since. Yeah, and like you say, we are doing a podcast. We are also doing the Koto Classic FPL podcast. It's on YouTube usually. Yeah, you can find us at the Jollof Football Bantaba YouTube channel. So yeah, it's not the biggest podcast, of course, but we started it during the COVID situation, and we were so bored in Japan. Me and my friend, he was also in Japan, so we decided to start the podcast talking about something we love doing. We both love FPL, so yeah, that's how we started it.
Excellent. Well, So, experienced manager, but it's this season where you've really you're doing it excellently. So what we'll look at your career, and we'll put this up in sort of context to show. Bearing in mind your top 300 in the overall rankings currently. So looking back in your seasons from 2014 onwards, really, you've had a top 40,000, a top 50,000, but the rest of them really have been outside the top 100k, or even lower, really. So it's quite a big change. So did you set out this season to think, right, I'm going to do better, and it's the captaincy is going to be the way I'm going to do it?
Well, I would say, because like when I started playing, it was all about within my close friends, like 20 or 50 of them maximum. So all I was focusing on was on that league. So I always wanted to win the Koto Classic mini league, which I have never won.
Yeah.
I finished second sometime. But this year, hopefully this year will be the season that I will win it, because I was very obsessed to win that league, because it's close friends who I'm very competitive with. So that was all my focus on. I didn't have any idea of there were other millions of people playing FPL outside that community within me. So I did not really bother about the overall rank. Even the year I finished like 45,000, it did not mean anything to me that particular year. So yeah, it was until 2019, 2020 season, the season actually that Liverpool won the league, that I entered into the Twitter space where people keeps talking about FPL, and then I realized there was much more than just the mini leagues to FPL. So I started competing to a more wider audience, more wider people and things like that. And yeah, that's when it kicked in that I wanted to do well. I wanted to compete at the higher level, and that was the season I finished like 38K. And at the end of that season, that was the season that Joshua won it. At the end of that season, I was so happy with the way I performed in my FPL season, but then I did not have the greatest finish that I would have desired. I ended up second in my Koto Classic Mini League, and what happened was very, very surprising for me. I did well with all my other players except my captaincy, and then I did kind of a study within my own league, the top 20 players in my league, the top 20 in the world, and the top 20 in my country, and then to check what was the difference between me and those managers. Because going into the COVID situation, I was already in the top 10,000 in the world. And then after that, I ended up in 38K. So I was very disappointed. So I had to find something, what was missing in my game. And that's when I did this research. And then I realized in my own league, that was the Koto Classic Mini League, I finished second. But when I checked my captaincy score, I was the bottom of the top 20 managers there.
Okay.
So that's when I realized this was not great. So I had to do something. And I knew I was doing a lot of overthinking when it comes to deciding my captaincy. I spent a lot of time thinking about my captaincy. And then that's where I realized, okay, this is my weakness. So this is somewhere I need to work on. And that's when I started working on it. So 3 years ago, I started working on my captaincy.
Okay, so back in August, so just before the season started, you put up on Twitter, I'm going to put this up now, is your captaincy matrix ticker for the season. So you mapped out the best options for the captaincy every game week, right up until game week 38. And obviously we're going to have double game weeks, blank game weeks, which are going to alter that. So you can, if that affects option 1, you move to option 2 and so on. So I'm going to put this up here, and I just want to for you to describe sort of how you've come to the decision that a certain captain is the best captain, option 1, 2, 3, and why that is, and sort of how much you change it during the season. So here it is. Brace yourselves, everyone. It's a mammoth piece here. So this maps out your whole captaincy for the whole season, and you can see here you've done pretty well with your choices. Yeah, how, for example, game week 1, we haven't got any underlying stats. How did you decide that Bruno against Leeds was the best option?
Yeah, basically, I like within my research, I also did some research on like performance of players. So basically, I checked players who plays at home and players who play away from home. So in general, players tend to do better at home than they do away from home. And in that particular game, in that first game, for example, Bruno was playing at home to Leeds, and Salah was playing away to Norwich, for example. But the thing is, when it comes to the players, I look at the players. I kind of separated the players into 2 orders. You have the premium players, which of course we all know they are the players, like the most expensive players. So in my case, I define premium as players who cost 10 million and more. And other players, those are the standard players. They are players who cost less than 10 million. So I separated these 2. And then I look at the teams to themselves and separated them into 3 categories, where you have the best defensive teams, the average defensive teams, and the worst defensive teams. So the worst defensive team, for example, Leeds was not there at the start of the season, but Norwich was there.
Yeah.
And so how I got that, like how I categorized them was based on their expected goals conceded, XGC, over the previous season, but also because some teams were coming up from the lower leagues and all those kind of things. So there were a lot of moving parts there. So sometimes it becomes a subjective decision to decide, okay, is this team a bad defense or is this team a good defense? So at the end, I have 3 categories. So if a premium player is playing the worst defensive team, automatically this tells me this is one of the best case scenarios. And if a premium team plays a like an average team, that is a good option, but if I have the premium playing the worst defensive team, that is a much better option. So that's how I have different cases, up to 12 different cases, and then this is how I make my order. But then to make the order again to decide if it is Bruno, that one becomes subjective, because I prefer the home my captain playing at home to a bad defensive team, or I don't need to call, I don't like to call him a bad defensive, but like not so good defensive team than playing away from home. That's how that is the idea behind the captaincy metrics, which I think when we go to the next slide, you can see the ordering, how I decided the premium players, how I decided the teams, like, and it's an evolving captaincy ticker, just like any fixture ticker, which evolves over the season, because it changes as the season goes. This one too changes over as the season progresses.
So I mean, so for example, game week 32 has just passed. I can't see Son or Kane against Villa there. However, you did captain Son, obviously, in game week 32 to get you into the top 300. And so that's an example of how that's changed, because I guess you, at the beginning of the season, you were either unsure or quite favoured the Villa defence looking ahead, and now it's become clear that Son and Kane and the Spurs attack is much more potent, and the Villa attack lacking, so the Villa defence lacking, so you can alter it. So that's an example there. But what I find useful this is when you're starting a season. So some people might be watching this or listening to this in August, just before the season's about to start, and this is quite useful because this sort of maps out who the best captaincies are, just in terms of fixtures really, and the form of the previous season. But it can show you where you think, well, hang on a minute, I haven't got the best captains from game week 9 onwards, for example. That could be a time to wildcard. Is that how you've looked at it as well with other chips? This could be a time to wildcard. This could be a time to change.
I look at the captaincy ticker like not just for the captaincy, but it's also for options. Like I don't just need to get these players for the captaincy. Like there are players like standard players, like for example in game week 1 DCL was there, so you will want to have DCL because he played Southampton. I think he scored in that particular game, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, I look at it in that way, but it changes over time. So that is the thing. And I wanted to point out one thing, like at the start of the season, I did not mention it, like what changed about me, like when it comes to wildcard. The idea of wildcarding kind of changed from my point of view, because like in past seasons, what I used to do was like I used to target the wildcard when I should play it and things like that. But this season, I think that was one of the reasons I had a very good start to the season was I want to have the strongest start possible. So don't think about when you are going to wildcard. Just think about 1 or 2 or 3 games and then get the best team possible. And if it works out that you need to wildcard immediately after that, then I will think about the wildcard. If it does not, then I can just proceed with my wildcard at the back of my pocket. So I did not enter into this season thinking about the wildcard like I used to do in previous season. This is one major change in my game this year too.
Okay. Yeah. And also looking at the options and the premium players against weak defences at home looking like the best options, I guess it pays to have at least 2 or maybe even 3 premium options. How many usually, for this season at any one time, have you got 2 premium options? So for example, a Kane and a Salah, or have you managed to stretch to 3?
Yeah, usually I start with 2. I started the season with Bruno Fernandes and Salah. Like you see, they were the 2 best options. So I started with them because Bruno was the captain for the first game. Salah was the captain for the second game. And then the third game, Bruno was out. And then Son came instead. And then I have Son and Salah. Yeah. And then I captained Son because I didn't want to go to Kane at that point in time. Okay. So yeah, I usually have 2 premium options. But I also I always make sure that I have the best captaincy option at every step of the way. That is always my like I'm always planning ahead to see how can I get this captaincy option for the next game week or for the next 2 game weeks. So that is something I
because I mean, as you say, that helps you pick the rest of the team. If you're not going to captain them, it just means you've got a good player. Let's have a look at. I've got a sort of a breakdown of the captaincy from 33 to 38. So this shows how the matrix has evolved, and obviously we've got lots and lots of double game weeks, blank game weeks. So it needs to be updated constantly. So where originally when you were looking at 33, you had Bruno against Norwich. You earmarked that in August, and once again, Bruno and Ronaldo against Norwich and Liverpool could be good options. But you've got others there as well now. So for example, Kane and Son. So game week 33, Kane versus Brighton, you've highlighted as a good option, but obviously it's a single game week, so it's sort of slept down the pecking order. But nevertheless, Kane and Son are still really good captaincy shouts, because even though they're only playing once. So just explain a bit more about what we're seeing on the screen here, because we've got your key of best premium versus worst. So if you could describe that, really, because that sort of shows you how your color scheme here for this. And for those listening on the podcast, dark green is good, red is not so good. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. That's how it is. I have up to 12 cases, so 12 keys. Just like I said, the best premium option, or the best premium option playing at home versus the worst defensive team. That's how I look at it. And then basically that's how it goes. Then the second option is the premium option playing at home versus an average team. So if you look at the team category, you have best team. That is Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Manchester United. Maybe Manchester United should not even be a best team now in terms of defense. And then you have average teams like Wolves, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, and Leicester City. And then you have the other teams as the worst teams. So basically, you want your premium player to be playing against the worst defenses, which is very good if you have that scenario. But we don't always have those scenarios. So if that scenario is not available, then we look at the premiums versus average. So this is subjective. When it comes to making this list, it is subjective to me. So maybe somebody else will have it in different order. But for me, this is what I think is the best order to do the captaincy. That's why I have it that way.
What I found interesting, looking at your original matrix in August, of game week 34, for example, you highlighted KDB versus Watford as the best captaincy shout. And looking at your updated matrix, hasn't changed. I mean, apart from Sterling being a good option as well, but it's KDB versus Watford is the top choice. And then, of course, you've got Salah or Mane against Everton, and Kane and Son versus Brentford. So this game week 34 for the captaincy looks absolutely great. There's loads of good choices, but game week 33... once again, for those listening on the podcast, all of the main captaincy choices aren't in dark green. They're in sort of yellow. They're sort of middling. So does that indicate that game week 33, for example, doesn't look like a good week for the captaincy?
Yeah, let me highlight something too about the yellow one. The yellow is just highlighting the double game week. The team has a double game week. Okay. Like the yellow one is highlighting that they have a double game week. So I think they are good fixtures. Like Cristiano Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes versus Norwich. That should be a very good game. For a captaincy, if United were in form, but unfortunately they are not, and people are kind of skeptical about their options. So, but yeah, game week 34, I think is a very good game to have the captaincy, like KDB. But of course, KDB has been a very difficult player to get right now because of Salah, Son, and Harry Kane. So it will be difficult to have KDB unless you have to lose one of those targets. But yeah, those are very good captaincy option, to be honest. Game week 34.
What's interesting as well, so we've got also on the screen here, you've highlighted some sort of the best premium assets, or the premium assets rather, for the top clubs that you would want to captain. So for example, with Tottenham, you've got Kane, and of course we can add Son into that now. He's gone up in price again just now. Manchester United, Ronaldo and Fernandes. And City, you've got KDB, also Sterling as a very valid captaincy shout. Liverpool, Salah, of course, and Mane. And Chelsea, Lukaku, who at the beginning of the season looked like a good option, but perhaps less now. But what this shows is that we can't have them all. Most teams can really only have two, like Kane and a Salah, or a Salah and a De Bruyne. So looking at game weeks 33 to 38, which two should we have, or should we this time of year, should we actually look for 3 for the captaincy?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you can stretch to 3, I think it's a very good option to have. Because now that you have raised your like team value and things like that, you should be able to get 3. Like personally, I have already used my bench boost so that I can maximize this last period where I can get all the premium assets. So that is my plan. It's quite difficult to do that now, but that is my plan to get 3. And yeah, speaking of Lukaku too, basically I just want to, when I made this table, I just wanted to get all the premium players on the table. Unfortunately, I forget to put Son's name there, but I wanted to get all the premium players on the table. And at every team, I take their most expensive player or the best option there. Like, for example, Vardy is not available right now, so that's why I had to go with Iheanacho for Leicester. So, yeah, the update was a little bit in a hasty, so, yeah, you have to pardon me for that one.
No, but this what I find is fascinating here, because it's looking at each game week ahead, and I'm starting to think about. So, for example, let's have a look at. I mean, game week 38 on your table, on your matrix ticker. You've got Chelsea assets versus Watford. So Lukaku here is the premium asset, but of course Havertz could be a strong option. Reece James maybe, and then you've got Salah and Mane against Wolves, KDB or Sterling against Villa, Kane and Son against Norwich, the Arsenal assets against Everton, and the Leicester assets against Southampton. This is a really... Game week 38 looks outstanding for the captaincy. So having 3 premiums looks... now, I've looked at my own team, and I'm sure many people watching and listening will look at this and thinking, oh, I'd like to own KDB, but I've got Salah and Kane, or Salah and Son. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Sacrifices have to be made. So who would you sacrifice in your team if would you sacrifice a premium defender, for example? Or?
That is another big one. When it comes to strikers, for me, forwards, I value defenders more, premium defenders more than forwards. That's why maybe I'm doing very well this season, because I'm usually not the biggest fan of expensive strikers. During Aguero's days, I am usually not the one who will have him for the whole season. Last season, I struggled a little bit because Kane was not in my team for most of the time. But this season, the fact that strikers are not doing so well, that kind of helped me as a manager. So, yeah, for me, the premium defenders are going to stay. I think they are very valuable in my team. I'm going to keep them. And then I just have the best options, or 1 or 2 best options from the list available by doing the transfers. But I think I'm going to focus on the Liverpool, Manchester City assets. That is going to be maybe KDB and Salah. I already have Son in my team too, which makes it a little bit tricky.
So for example, I own Kane. Many other people do. And Kane, Salah and KDB, that would be quite tricky. But Son, KDB and Salah is possible. So,
it's possible.
Okay, that's interesting and depressing for me. But let's have a look at your captaincy performance. So what we've got on the screen here is some interesting things. This is how you've done with the captaincy. So this is why you've done so well. So we can see you started off with a 40-point return immediately from Fernandes. And the types of captaincy hauls you've got here. So you've had 14, which you consider a haul, and then you've got 8, which are okay, and then a further 9. So if you take me through that, so what you consider a haul, and then the 8 is the return for. You're going to have to describe this to me. Save my voice.
Yeah. Let me see you. Yeah, basically because it's like I use it personally, so it's not like out there for everybody to use. But yeah, maybe that's the dream for everybody to be able to use it. But yeah, the what I do is like if you have a double-digit return, I call it a haul. Okay. If you have a return between 4 points to 9 points, I call it you just have a return. And if you have less than 3 points or less, I call it a blank.
Okay.
Basically, that is it. So over the course of the season, I try to monitor my progress and see how well I am doing. That's why I did this. So I have 14 hauls. I have 14 double-digit returns in captaincy, 8 returns, and I have 9 blanks so far this season. Yeah, and below that, you have the average captaincy points over the last 3 seasons. When I started, monitoring my captaincy, when I realized I had 12, like I averaged like 12 for my captaincy in 2019-2020 season. That was the season I had my highest ever FPL finish, but I finished with just 12 points. And what's fascinating there is when I was looking at the champion that season, Joshua Bull, which I will show you later, he also did not have the best of captaincy that season. He averaged like 13 point something captaincy. So compare that to my captaincy in 2020, 2021, and this season, it's completely different.
Yeah.
So what he was doing so well was how he was managing the rest of his team, how he was managing the other aspect of his game, which is the hits and the non-captain players. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, that is how my captaincy, that's how I monitor my captaincy throughout the season, and it has been a very helpful for me this season.
Okay, so yeah, just for those listening on the podcast, for 1920 you were averaging 12 points. For 2021 you were then averaging 15.3 points for your captaincy points per season, and then this season 19.1. So that's a huge turnaround in captaincy scores. And we can see also some of the hauls that you've had there. So Bruno, 40 points, game week 1. Looking through here, Salah, game week 9, 48 point return there. Bowen, 42 point return for you there in game week 21. Salah, 56 points in game week 26. And most recently, Son with a 42 point haul there. So they're just some of the highlights there. Have you played your triple captaincy chip yet? And if not, when will you?
No, I have not played it yet.
Wow.
I was planning to play it the game week that Salah had, that exceptional game week where he had the I think most of you guys triple captain him on that week. I did not. I used the wild card. So I'm not using it. I'm gonna use it in game week 36 probably. Or game week 37, because there's a couple of doubles coming there. So I think Man City have a double or Liverpool have a double. So it does not necessarily have to be Salah. It depends on what I feel like has the more upside, and then I will use it on that. But also I wanted to mention something. Yeah, I know my captaincy have been exceptionally on the going up. But the last 2 seasons have been unprecedented. There is a lot of double game weeks and things like that. So that kind of contributed a little bit to captaincy points going up a little bit, and it also helped me. But also my realization that my captaincy was so bad is also something that really helped me.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, a lot of your big captaincy hauls. So, in your first 9 game weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 9 captaincies of your first 9 game weeks, 6 out of 9. These were double-digit returns, and then in some cases, Salah in game week 9 with 48 points, absolutely huge returns. So yes, you are right about the double game weeks, but it's that start was just immense for you with the captaincy. Very rarely blanking, so that's helped. I've got another slide here. This shows your comparison. This is your have a look. What are we looking at here? Because this shows your return for your captaincy. Your average is 19.1. And this has got you compared to the overall rank number 1 now, number 2, and then also the number 1 and 2 and 3 for the previous season. And this shows that you're doing better than all of them in terms of the captaincy. So yeah, what made you sort of decide to look in detail at this and sort of compare yourself to the number 1 and 2 in the rankings?
Yeah, basically it's like the last 2 seasons, number 1, number 2, and number 3 in the world. And like I say, when I did the 2019-2020 season, I realized that my captaincy was bad. So that is when I did this comparison, and I realized this was so helpful. And since then, I started playing the game in a different way. Yeah. Now we are in the days of effective ownership. Everybody talk about effective ownership. How are you going to fight effective ownership? So me personally, how I play the game now is I set a target of points that I want to have. I set a target. If it is 60 points, I want to reach to 60 points. Then how am I going to have these 60 points? The captaincy is supposed to contribute this amount of points. The non-captains, they're going to contribute this amount. And then the hits, which is going to chop off your points, you also have to factor in that, because these are the 3 main battles you have to fight in FPL generally. These are the 3 main battles everybody have to fight. So that is where I already knew I was okay with my non-captaincy. I already knew that. And the hits I don't really bother too much because I only do them when I make mistakes or when I see an opportunity to use them. So the captaincy was the key one that I had to improve on. Even that year, that 2019, 2020, when I finished like 30 something K, I realized in the top 20 managers in the world, there were some managers I had a better non-captaincy average points than them. But the difference was always the captaincy.
Yeah.
So I just had to improve on the captaincy. Then I started comparing myself with like the top 3 managers in the world in the last season and the top 3. Every season I collect the data of the top 3 or top 10 managers, and then I will add it to my data and then see where am I. So if I'm not doing well in this category, I try to improve on that category. So it's not just the captaincy, but I try to play the game in 3 different, 3 different levels. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is fascinating, and it just shows how important the captaincy is, but how it can feed into the rest of the team as well. Because if you've got the best captains, you hopefully got good choice of players. Let's have a look at your so-called bus team. For looking ahead for game week 33. So I'm gonna, for the benefit of those listening to the podcast, I'll read it out, and then I'll get you to sort of describe why you've chosen those players, and in particular your captain. So you've got Ramsdale in goal, Fofana from Leicester, Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk in defence. So that's 2 double game weekers so far. Then you've got Son, who's got the vice captaincy at the moment. Saka, who has the captaincy. He plays Southampton and Chelsea away. And then Salah, Kulusevski. And then in a 3-4-3, you've got Lacazette, Iheanacho and Weghorst up front. On your bench, no one. They're all not playing. Doherty is injured, and Rafinha, Sace and Sarr all miss a fixture. They've all got a blank game week there. So are you planning to make any changes? And in particular, I'll ask you about the captaincy in a sec. But yeah, any changes you're gonna make?
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 free transfers, so I have to make at least one. So yeah, my plan is to bring in Maddison and maybe a City defender. So yeah, if Maddison is coming in, he's probably likely to be my captain, even though I back Iheanacho more at Leicester. But I think Maddison is like, his fitness is quite okay now. So Saka, yeah, because I have him on my bus team captain because that was before the Arsenal game happened.
Yeah.
Of course, and before you see that performance, and they are playing 2 games away from home, and yeah, he was the best option I had in this based on the double game weeks they have. That's why Saka is having my captaincy, but he's not going to be on him by the start of game week 33.
No, I mean, in my team at the moment, I've got it tentatively on Kane and Saka as my vice captain, but like you, I plan to get Maddison in, and barring any injury, Maddison will also be my captain. So what you've just said there, considering what we've just been speaking about, is music to my ears. So if I'm sharing the same thoughts as you, I'm feeling confident, hopefully. Who else would you advise for the captaincy? So some people are going to be free hitting this week, or perhaps thinking of getting Bruno or Ronaldo in. They play Norwich, then they got Liverpool. Norwich is a good game. But are you tempted to get them in, or would you advise people to captain Ronaldo or Fernandes, or do you just think that Maddison, Saka, etc. are better?
No, I don't think so. I to be honest, if I had Bruno Fernandes or Ronaldo, I think I would captain them, to be honest. And it was in my plan, like around game week 30. In my plan, actually, I have Bruno coming in for Son. But with the rate Son is going at right now, you don't even think about selling him, right? Yeah. So I have to just keep Son and do without the United players. They have not been on form, but if I had them, to be honest, I would give them the captaincy without even doubting it.
Okay, that's just because of the strength of the fixtures. Home game, premium assets, home game against a weak defence.
No, yeah.
Okay, and Norwich are the worst defence, by the way. We'll talk about this in further videos this week. We have done all season, really. They're always top of the worst defences. Salah for the captaincy. Would you consider him? He's is it his form, or I mean, it strikes me he could get a return against Manchester United, but would you be tempted to captain Salah?
I did captain him away at Old Trafford, which was very not my strategy,
Okay,
because
yeah.
he was considered the premium, but playing against the best defense at that time. Manchester United was considered one of the best defenses, but I did captain him. But that was because I did not have options. The options I wanted, Lukaku, I had him. I brought in Lukaku to captain him that week, and if we remember well, Lukaku got injured in that particular week, so I could not captain him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Salah at home to Manchester United, it is enticing, but considering the double game weeks, considering Manchester United playing Norwich, I will not do it.
No. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so Son obviously at home. I mean, is he now like a cheat code in FPL? Son at home, even away, is just he's the guy who's scoring the goals, and Kane's the guy who's assisting. So should people who own Kane be thinking about swapping to Son?
I think we have been there before, from Son to Kane, and many people did that. I think I said on our podcast, me and my friend, I would either bring Son and Kane together, like I will buy both of them, find a way to get both of them, but I will never consider taking one for the other, like making the move from Son to Kane or Kane to Son. They are both exceptional assets, and they can score anytime. So if I had Kane, I would really stick to Kane, despite Son being the performing better in the past few games.
Okay, and just before we go, I'm just going to go back to the game week 33 to 38 ticket as well. So if people are watching this a bit later in the summer, you can see how well this did. So looking at this, we're looking at as you saying, the Manchester United players against Norwich could be a good option this week. Next week, game week 34, it looks like Manchester City against Watford, or Liverpool against Everton could be a great source of points. Yeah. 35, possibly Manchester United against Brentford, possibly the Liverpool players against Newcastle, or Spurs against Leicester could be good for the captaincy. And then in 36, we've got your triple captaincy week, where it's Liverpool against Villa and Tottenham. So Liverpool assets there. Salah could be good, but then also Man City might have two fixtures as well, worth considering. And the same at 37. We've got quite a lot of good options here. Salah against Mane versus Southampton could be good, but I remember captaining them against Southampton at home a couple of years ago, and them getting all blanking. It was really annoying. And in the last game week, we mentioned game week 38. It's an absolute wonderland for the captaincy, and we should all get 7 premium players. If we can. But yeah, Chelsea against Watford. Now that intrigues me, because Watford will probably have been relegated by then. And do we think? I mean, Lukaku could get a start, but do we think Mason Mount, Havertz? This could be a great week for a differential Chelsea captaincy. Do you think perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. If I'm going Chelsea captain, it's not going to be Lukaku, definitely. It's going to be Mason Mount or even Reece James. Havertz, I think those are the 3 best options there at Chelsea right now. So hopefully by that time, I think most FPL managers will have them, because when they have the double in game week 36, many managers will bring them in. So it should be a good and easy transition from that game week to game week 38. Game week 37 too, they have nice fixtures. They have 2 doubles, right? They have Leicester, Manchester United too. They could have that one.
Okay. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating. You've given me lots of food for thought for next season. Definitely, I think I'm going to look at the fixtures in much more detail and I'm going to do a similar thing, and I think other people will, watching this and listening. I think they might. I'm going to map out the captaincy a bit more, and it's going to help me with my decisions around chips probably, but also about just which teams I should target. Because what's interesting, although your matrix has changed, what I found most interesting is some of the choices that you've had. You've decided in August, and they haven't changed. KDB against Watford, game week 34, is as good a captaincy choice now as it was back in August. So I think that proves the merit of that. Just before we go, did you want to add anything that you think we haven't covered?
No, I think we have covered everything. I think, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm good. It's good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Chama, for coming on the show. It's been really fascinating, and I hope it's given all the listeners and viewers something to think about with the captaincy. Good luck with your game week. Good luck with your captaincy choice, and good luck with the rest of the season and your pursuit of that top one finish after being in the top 300 currently. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be on the show. I really enjoy it. Yeah.